Prophet who was eaten by a lion. Obedience versus deception. What happens when we obey, but then disobey the voice of God simply because another voice claimed to speak for him? What happens when fear disguises itself as reverence, and reverence becomes rebellion? This is not the story of David, not the story of Paul. This is the story of a prophet, a man of God who listened once, obeyed once, and then died for trusting the wrong messenger. In the book of 1 Kings, chapter 13, we meet an unnamed man of God, sent by the Lord from Judah to deliver a warning to King Jeroboam, who had corrupted Israel with idol worship and built altars to false gods. The prophet stands before the altar and prophesies its destruction. As a sign, it splits in two. The king, enraged, stretches his hand to seize him, but his hand withers. The prophet intercedes, and God heals the king, a miracle. The king offers him food, reward, rest, but the prophet refuses. For the word of the Lord came to me, saying, "You shall not eat bread, nor drink water, nor return the way you came." And so, obedient, he departs. But then, another man, an older prophet, finds him and lies. "An angel spoke to me by the word of the Lord," he says. "Eat bread with me, come, rest." And so the younger prophet listens. He eats, he drinks, he stays. And then a chilling word comes from the very mouth of the older man. "Because you have disobeyed the command of the Lord, your body shall not be buried in the tomb of your fathers." On his journey home, a lion meets him on the road and kills him. The lion does not devour him. It stands beside his body, beside his donkey, still, silent, as if it knows. Spiritual reflection. Why does this story, quiet, strange, nearly forgotten, still whisper to us today? Because it speaks to something deeply human, deeply modern, the battle between personal revelation and the voices that surround us. The prophet was not a rebel. He was not wicked. He was faithful. He heard the voice of God and obeyed until he didn't. Not because he stopped believing, but because he started believing someone else more. And isn't that the danger? Not the loud rejection of God, but the subtle replacement of his voice with something that feels holy but is not him. How often do we do the same? We receive an inner knowing, a conviction, a calling, and then someone with status or age or spiritual charisma tells us, "No, this is what God says," and we surrender. Not because we are weak, but because we are taught to respect authority, to listen to elders, leaders, prophets. But what happens when their words do not match what we heard in the quiet? The young prophet died because he trusted charisma over clarity. The man who misled him wasn't a stranger. He was a fellow prophet. It wasn't the king who deceived him. It was a peer, a spiritual voice he assumed was safe. That is the deep ache of this story. It is not about lions. It is about discernment, about the terrifying truth that even holy people can lie. Even spiritual voices can mislead. And still, we are accountable for what we know. This is a story for anyone who has doubted themselves, who has heard God clearly, but then felt outnumbered by opinions. It is a story for the ones who are walking the path they were told to take, but feel in their bones that something is off, that the voice leading them may not be the voice they once heard. Here is the question this story demands we ask. Whose voice are you following? Is it God's or someone who sounds like him? Because obedience isn't about how many follow you. It's about how closely you follow the one who sent you. Closing meditation. This is not a story about punishment. It is a story about discernment, about spiritual sobriety, about being rooted in the voice of God so deeply that no other voice, no matter how familiar, can shake it. The line was not random. It was sacred justice, a symbol that even spiritual men must walk in obedience, not just to the idea of God, but to his instruction. As we walk through our own deserts, our own altars, our own lies disguised as counsel, may we become like the prophet before the meal, steadfast, trusting, anchored, not in voices, but in the voice. You shall not eat, you shall not drink, you shall not return the way you came. Sometimes God sends you forward, and all he asks is that you trust him enough not to look back. If this stirred something in you, like, subscribe, and share it forward. This is one of many forgotten voices in Scripture, and we're just getting started.